I've never owned an IRA or 401k or a Roth and never will. I'm Doug Andrew. In this episode, I'm going to answer the question, which is better, a traditional IRA or 401k or a Roth IRA or 401k? Well, I'm going to show you neither because I've never owned them and I never will. My favorite vehicle is a max-funded IUL. It blows the other options out of the water. I'm going to explain why. So, I'm Doug Andrew. I've been a financial strategist and retirement planning specialist now for north of 48 and a half years, helping people optimize assets, minimize taxes, and prepare for a comfortable retirement so that they will not outlive their money. What causes most Americans to outlive their money? Three big dangers: taxes, inflation, and market volatility. So I eliminate those dangers by using one of my favorite financial instruments. It's called a max-funded indexed universal life, but it must be structured correctly and funded properly. Then it will be deemed a laser fund. LASER is an acronym that stands for Liquid Asset Safely Earning Returns. In fact, my 11th book is by far my all-time bestseller. It's flying off of our warehouse shelves. I'm going to gift you a copy of this book at the end. It's 300 pages of charts, graphs, and explanations. So stay with me to the end of this video episode. So let me show you why I have such strong feelings about IRAs and 401ks or Roths and why I will never own one of them, because they are so inferior to a properly structured max-funded index universal life, which would be a laser fund. For years in my various books, I have sort of used a metaphor of a $1 million dash, okay? So let's say that you are running a dash to hit a finish line, to cross the finish line with $1 million net, $1 million net after tax. I say net because in an IRA or 401k that's only tax deferred, you're going to need $1.5 million before tax to net $1 million after tax, okay? So we're talking about $1 million net. So many times I ask people, you've got to get clear on where you are right now, and then get clarity on where you're wanting to go. So then we have to address, how are you going to get there? Now, there are 5 different ways to cross this finish line of financial independence that I have on this little drawing right here. So let's talk about these 5 different scenarios, because most Americans, I think, get duped into putting their money into traditional IRAs or 401ks invested in the market. And when they hit retirement, I go, what are you thinking here? Okay, Wall Street was never designed to create predictable income. It's very hard for an asset manager to ever show you an illustration of predictable cash flow coming out of the stock market, mutual fund portfolio, or whatever. In fact, usually they're forbidden from showing any more than 4% payouts, because the average return for most retirees is only 3.49% with their money in the market. That's pretty pathetic. I'd rather get 8, 9, 10% payouts on $1 million nest egg, not 4%, and then have to pay tax on that. So a lot of times we look at these tax-deferred IRAs and 401ks thinking we're going to be in a lower tax bracket, and we get there and we're not. We've been going down the highway, so to speak, with one foot on the gas pedal and the other foot on the brake pedal, and we didn't know we were doing that. We're deferring and deferring, and the other foot on the brake pedal is we're getting rid of our only tax deductions. We pay off our house. The kids are then gone later on. And so even if they move back in, you can't deduct them anymore. If you're a business owner, you don't have those deductions anymore. And so we find ourselves in as higher tax brackets. And Congress, because of irresponsible government spending and the printing of money, taxes have been going up. So the old adage, oh, you'll likely be in a lower tax bracket, has not been true or axiomatic now for more than 30 years. But still, I can't believe 91% of Americans are duped into putting money into tax-deferred accounts, but only this portion is your money. The rest belongs to the government. It's the best savings bond the government ever came up with for themselves. And so deferred taxes just mean increased taxes. And if your advisor is telling you to continue to defer and postpone and procrastinate until you're age 72, if you don't need the money, and then take out RMDs, required minimum distributions, you need to search on this channel, because that's the worst advice for most people, is to take out RMDs. You may be minimizing tax in a given year, but you are compounding the tax over the long run when you add it all up to your life expectancy, to your spouse's life expectancy, and then leaving behind anything to your children. They have to pay tax on it now within 10 years. They can't leave it until they retire necessarily, okay? And so what I prefer is to accumulate my money tax-free. I want 100% of my money to be totally income tax-free when I retire. And there's only one vehicle really that does that effectively in the Internal Revenue Code, and that's a max-funded indexed insurance contract that's structured correctly and funded properly. Now, for years, I've been using this example of this $1 million dash with 5 different savings alternatives. One would be like crawling around the racetrack. The other would be like walking. The other one would be jogging with the wind at the back at the beginning of the race. One would be jogging with the wind at the back at the end of the race. I would rather sprint. So let's talk about these in relation to 4 different phases of retirement planning. We have the contribution phase. This is where you're going through your life earning money and you're contributing money to your future retirement. It overlaps the accumulation phase, okay? But someday you're going to take distributions or withdrawals, and too many people go into withdrawal when they hit that phase because they start paying more tax than they ever thought they would. And then at the end of the day, when you die, you're going to transfer it to your spouse or your children. So those are the 4 phases of retirement planning. So let's look at these 5 alternatives. The first would be like crawling around the racetrack. It's the worst way to save, and yet the most common way Americans save. This is in taxed as earned investments. This is banks, credit unions, regular mutual funds, where every year you have to report on your 1040 tax return the interest or the dividends that you made. And so you are actually funding those investments with after-tax dollars. You have to pay tax every year on your tax return. And any gains when you sell the stocks or whatever, or the mutual fund shares, you have to pay tax. And when you die, it transfers. It can also be subject to tax as it transfers, okay? So it's read in all 4 of those phases. So people say, well, golly, I think I'm going to take my money and put it into a tax-deferred account like an annuity. Well, okay. So you're taking after-tax money, you're putting it into a deferred annuity, let's say. But then when you start taking out the money, you have to pay tax, and it's taxed LIFO. To simplify this, if you put in $500,000 into an annuity and you immediately annuitized it, let's say the annuity was paying 10%. Most don't do that, but on $500,000, that would be $50,000 a year. Well, the IRS said that $50,000 a year is your interest. The last money you're earning, your interest, is the first money coming out. That's called LIFO, last in, first out. And so only if you deplete the basis you put in there do you get that out without paying tax, because you already paid tax. That was after-tax money you put into the annuity. You only get one green circle, so it's like walking around the racetrack, okay? Now, let me illustrate this using some math. If we were to look at $1 doubling every period for 20 periods, okay? If $1 doubled to 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, in 20 periods, $1 would be worth $1,048,000, only if it's tax-free, okay? If you take that dollar doubling to $2 and you're in a 25% tax bracket, you pay 25 cents in tax, you only have $1.75. That $1.75 doubles to $3 the next year. You pay tax on that. You only have $3.06. So in a 25% tax bracket, instead of having a million, okay, you would have 72,000, 7.2% of a million. In a 33% bracket, you'd only have 27,000. People are shocked when I show them this. You would only have 2.7% of what you could have had if you weren't paying tax as you go. And this is the most common way people save. And they wonder why they can never make ends meet. Well, what about people who have IRAs and 401ks? They thump themselves on the chest and say, no, mine's tax deferred. I end up with $1 million. Well, that's not all your money. That's only the front 9 of an 18-hole golf game of life. Let's look at the back 9, your retirement years, okay? I often ask people, if you were a farmer and you had the choice of buying your seed in the springtime, and you didn't have to pay tax on the price of the seed, but later on when you sold your harvest in the fall after irrigating, cultivating, and working hard, now you agree to pay tax on what you sell your harvest for, okay? That's a traditional IRA or 401k. You get a tax break on the seed money, but you agree to pay tax during your harvest years, your retirement years. Now, smart people realize, no, that's not smart if taxes go up. I would rather pay tax on the seed and enjoy the harvest without tax. And then people go, oh, you're talking about a Roth. Well, a Roth is a step in the right direction, but I've told you I've never owned a Roth. I'll explain why. So instead of these, if you put money in a traditional IRA or 401k, you're able to put in pre-tax dollars or tax-deductible contributions into an IRA, and they accumulate tax deferred. But then during the harvest, you agree to pay tax and during the transfer. So you get 2 green circles, which is better than maybe 1 green circle. But this isn't going to cut it. I would rather have at least 3 green circles. So yeah, you could do a Roth and you take after-tax money and you accumulate it tax-free. You can access it tax-free, but it won't blossom and transfer tax-free. The only thing Roths do are they accumulate money tax-free and you can access money tax-free. My favorite instrument, which is a max-funded, tax-advantaged 101A alternative, it's what I call a laser fund, an indexed universal life. I fund it with after-tax dollars directly. It accumulates tax-free under Section 72E of the code. I can access the money anytime. I don't have to wait till I'm 59 and a half, totally income tax-free. And at the end of the day, when I die, I'm 70 right now. If I died tomorrow, every million in my MFTA would blossom to 2 million and transfer tax-free to my wife. There's not a Roth around that will do that. But see, Roths only allow you to put in a certain dollar amount, a certain percent of your income. With an MFTA, I can design one to put in $300,000 in a year, every year. You can't do that in a Roth. If you make too much money, you can't even qualify. I don't have to put in $300,000. I can put in $30,000 and make up the other $270,000 anytime I want. If you don't use the room in a given tax year with a Roth, you lose it forever. If I put in $300,000 into a laser fund and 4 days later I need $200,000 back, I can access that. There's no 10% penalty by the IRS, or I don't have to pay tax. You can't do that with a Roth. You have to wait 5 years or till you're age 72 or 59 and a half in order to access money. I don't want those strings attached. I get to use indexing with a laser fund. I get to participate when the market goes up and not lose when it goes down. I've averaged 9.6% rates of return. Most Roths are only averaging around 3.5% in the market. But at the end of the day, Roths don't blossom as I indicated. So why would I mess around with a Roth when I can have the 2 benefits of a Roth and 4 additional benefits that I just explained, right? And people say, well, how much does that cost? And I go, well, nothing is free, but it doesn't cost me anything. That death benefit that doubles my account when I die, that's coming along for the ride. It's not free, but I'm not paying for it. It's being paid for with a minuscule portion of money that would otherwise go out the window in unnecessary tax. Are you ready for one more? Now, 3 green circles is incredible. It knocks the socks off of 2. But I don't want any restrictions. That's why I use a max-funded indexed insurance contract instead of a Roth, because I want to have 3 green circles with as much money as I want to save. But in my books, I do talk about how you can sort of use your smarts to not kill tax deductions or resurrect tax deductions that you did kill. If you own rental properties or what have you, these are tax strategies because I'm a tax strategist. And so many times I'm able to indirectly keep a lot of my tax deductions so that I get some tax advantages on the contribution phase, but never at the expense of giving up tax-free on the back end. But I can many times get 4 green circles. But if you only get 3 green circles, you're going to be so much better off, 50, 100%, even double or triple having your money in a traditional IRA or 401k. But if you want to learn about really how to strategize, you can go from 3 even to 4 green circles with a lot of your money. I don't have time to explain that in this episode, but here's how you can learn more. Read my books. I have been blessed in my life to have 13 bestsellers. Now, here's one I want to gift you. It's called The Laser Fund, and it's a 300-page book. This side, the white side, is for left brain learners. It has about 200 pages, 14 chapters with all the charts and graphs and explanations of how to diversify and create the foundation for a tax-free retirement, how to sprint around that racetrack, okay, instead of just jogging. See, regular IRA or 401k would be like jogging with the wind at the back at the beginning of the race. You get a tax break on the seat. If you use a Roth, that's like jogging with the wind at the back at the end of the race. You get tax-free harvest. I want to sprint. If you want to learn how to sprint, get this book. And if you learn more by stories, you flip it over, and this is 100 pages, 12 chapters with 62 actual client stories. If you want to use both your right brain and left brain, you can read both. But I want to gift you a copy. And if you go to this site or click on the link below, you contribute a nominal amount towards the shipping and handling. I'll cover the rest of that cost, and I will pay for the book. I'll fire out a hard copy to you. And there's also options there. If you also want to listen and learn or watch and learn, there's also information about educational webinars that we teach. You can even schedule an appointment online to talk to an IUL specialist to see how this may apply in your particular set of circumstances if you want to see this. And there's no cost or obligation if you decide to do that. But this is really about you and your brighter future. Don't be crawling, walking, or even jogging towards the finish line of financial independence. I want you to sprint.